Hey guys, good afternoon. It's Mark from Pro Class Software. How are you? Hello, can you guys hear me?
As long as I can hear you.
Great. So who's with us today? I can see Amjad, of course, signing in. I've got Ramiz, Samir, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, sorry for the pronunciation, by the way. Hanan as well.
Yes, yes, it's Hanan.
No.
Okay.
Hi, Mark.
Okay. Hey there, guys. Hey, Amjad.
Uh,
Yep, yep. It's been a long time.
yeah,
So I guess we're still waiting for the rest to join in, right?
yeah. So just for the time, this meeting, this scheduled was for one office. Now we have more than one office, so it's going to be more than let's say anticipated participants. So in going forward, we're just going to wait like 5 minutes. And in general, we have all the sessions recorded. Yes, Mark?
Yeah, we could do that. Not a problem. How many
Yeah.
office are we talking about for
So we currently we
what
have
do we call
the
it?
UAE, Ramallah, Jordan, and Egypt. And
Okay.
okay, so the scope
Recording
of
in
this,
progress.
yeah, the scope of this sessions, these sessions, basically basic training on the introductory to Pro Class, how to use the system in general. But we have in the participants some people who have some experience, so they may ask some questions. Hope they can have it as at a later stage at the end of the session to ask more advanced questions.
Sure. Don't worry. We're gonna allocate a few minutes before before the end of the session, for example, to cover existing questions. Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. I think we should start now, Mark.
So it's good to go?
Yeah, I think they can join us later at later stage, and we don't want to waste the people we have the time. Okay, we can
Sure,
start.
sure. Anyway, we've got a few topics covered for today, of course. I do hope we're able to, cover everything today as far as those first two topics that I was hoping to show you. Anyway, good afternoon, guys. I'm actually Mark with ProClass. I'm actually today with Lloyd Yabut, one of our new, support staff here with ProClass as well. Together, the both of us are actually handling Amedee's accounts most of the time. So, in case you wanted some help, you have questions whatsoever, you can always email me or Lloyd, for example, or anybody from support would be good as well. All right, so I guess everybody can see my screen right now, right? No problem? And you can hear me okay?
Yes, everything.
All right, appreciate it. Now, first thing you need to know about ProClass, when you have access to the ProClass database, of course, you have different menus that you could go to as an administrator, right? You have homepage at the top, attendance, find, create, reports, up until log off, support, for example. You have all of those different menus that you could go to as a unit or an administrator inside a ProClass system. Now, let me explain first the way the homepage works, okay? Because this is important. The homepage, we've got here what we call as dashboard pages and widgets. It is something that you could customize per user, okay? Now, some user or administrators would actually keep using the default setup for the homepage. They're not going to modify it in any way, but other administrators would tend to modify it according to what he or she does every day inside a ProClass system. So what you could do, the system allows you to customize your dashboard pages here. Right now, I'm looking at 5 dashboard pages. If you wanted to only use 2, for example, you could go to your defined pages and then select uncheck 3 of them, for example, if you want to. I want to use only 2. You could do that if you want. So when you click on save, instead of showing you 5 dashboard pages, I've got 2 right now showing up on the left side. Now, there's a couple of ways for you to modify it, of course. You click on the reset layout here down at the bottom. That would switch your homepage back to its default format, wherein everything is pre-configured according to, the basic settings inside the system. So when you click on reset layout, for example, are you sure you can, you want to switch back to the default layout, click on OK. Everything would be populated according to it was originally. So you've got 5 dashboard page, and each of these dashboard page contains widget. Like right now, if I go to my programs, I've got my quick search programs here. If I scroll down a bit below, I've got my quick search sessions. I've got my recent activity sessions. So I've got different widgets assigned to it already. Okay? Now, again, as a user, you could customize it according to what your role is for the organization. I understand that you're not going to be using all of those widgets, so sometimes it is better for you to actually get rid of those widgets that are obviously not useful for you. Like, let's say, for example, if I'm going to click on clear layout here at the bottom, okay, that would clear everything out. You have the option to create up to 10 pages if you want to. But let's say, for example, I'm only going to use 2 pages here. So I'm going to check the remaining 8, right? And then I can name each page whatever I want. Let's say I'm going to put in accounts and contacts here on the first one. And then on the second page, I'm going to name it programs, for example. And then I'm going to click and save. So right now, from 10 pages, I've got 2 pages right now showing in my dashboard. And then I can open up this dotted line here on the top, which shows me a library of available widgets that I have. So everything that you could use as a widget is found on this library. Those, the ones that are grayed out, means that they are already assigned. to a particular, dashboard page. But obviously right now, you can see that you can actually click into, almost everything. So if I want to use Quick Search Contacts, I just click on it and I drag it inside the dashboard page that I want to use it. I want to use Quick Search Programs. I click on it, put it inside the dashboard page, and then, of course, don't forget, every time you make some changes or updates, for example, on your homepage, make sure you click on Save Layout. So every time you log back into the ProClass, instead of showing you the default setup, let's say I'm going to go back to your Amadeus test unit right now. Instead of showing me the default, setup right now, it's showing me what I customized it earlier. So I've got my Quick Search Programs here, and then a little bit down below, I've got my Quick Search Contacts and Programs, right? So that's the way that you can actually customize it later on. Of course, if you're new to the ProClass system, I would presume that not all of you are going to make some changes yet. I want you to get yourself familiar first with what are those widgets that are useful for you. And then later on, maybe when you are familiar with the ProClass system, that's probably the best time to customize your homepage according to, what you guys need. But not as early as today, of course. So, again, clicking on the Reset Layout here down at the bottom would simply switch me back to its default format. So, 5 dashboard page, and I've got different widgets already assigned to it. So if you open up this file library again on the top, it's going to show you the library, but most of the widgets are grayed out. It means that those widgets are already pre-assigned to the different dashboard page you have on the left side. Okay? Now, aside from the homepage setup, what you need to understand, by the way, is that every time you add a record or when you navigate through the ProClass system, the system is always going to ask you for some, classifications or categories when you add a record or when you set up one. I'm talking about when you add a program or when you add an individual, for example, the system is going to ask you what type of account, what type of individual are you trying to set up, what type of program, for example. All of those different type fields that you would encounter throughout the ProClass system, all of them are configured under administration. And you don't need to do anything, of course, as a regular user. They have been pre-created, depending on the database that you're going to be using. They have been pre-configured already by your higher-ups, of course, by Amjad, by Nuha, for example. So the main administrators for Amadeus already configured most of the settings under administration. So I don't think you do have permissions to configure or make some changes on it, but I just want you to let you know, though, all of those different options or choices that actually goes out on the category list or the type fields, are found all under administration. Okay? So that you would be aware of that. Everything is pre-configured under administration according to what your organization or what your unit is actually set up. Questions? Sorry. No questions? Okay, great. So let's start by showing you how you can add an individual right now inside a ProClass system. That's the easiest part, right? Of course, I presume, Amjad, correct me if I'm wrong, everything is done still in the back end, right? There's no online registration yet? Amjad?
Yeah, you're
Can you
correct.
confirm?
Yeah, everything's
Okay,
back in.
great.
Using the online system, but it's not the main entry point.
So, got it. So it's not yet live. Okay. So, yep. All right. So when you add an individual, what you need to understand, guys, is that there's multiple ways for you to do it inside the ProClass system. Okay? You have the option to do it under the Create menu on the top. So if you go to the Create menu right now, this would give you different wizards that you can click into. You could create a contact for a new account. Okay. You could create a session, for example. You could create a program. You could register somebody. You could add records from the create menu. Now, aside from the create menu, you could also do it from the find if you need to. And at the same time, you could also do it from the homepage. Okay? It is just a matter of, I guess, choice and, your personal choice as an administrator where you're comfortable adding those records in the first place. Of course, when somebody walks into your office, they want to register, for example, or you try to verify the record, you try to search for them first. That's the ideal process there, right? Before you add a certain record inside a ProClass system, you try to make sure that they're not yet in the database first to avoid duplicate records, of course. Right? So here, we've got your contacts dashboard page, and we've got the accounts dashboard page here in the middle part. Now, the way we manage our records inside of the ProClass system, contacts are those individuals, okay? Whether you are an adult, a child, for example, record inside the system, all of those individuals are contact records, we call it. And inside the ProClass system, contacts belongs to an account. An account will tell us whether you have like an individual account, you have a family account maybe, or you have a corporate account. Now, if I recall correctly, most of your records are going to be individual, right? And then some of it are going to be a mix between corporate account, same time, but I don't think you do have family account, right? If I recall correctly, so you have both individuals as well as corporate accounts, and then of course you have you don't have any family records inside your database. So we're dealing mostly with individuals right now inside a ProClass system. So before you add them, again, you have your quick search contacts here. This would allow you to search for that individual inside the database, right? Whether there are an active record or an inactive record, the difference between the two is just you simply put a check mark on the active only search here. But the idea there is that you type in the first name or the last name of that person. Let's say I'm going to look for Mark, right? So I type in the word Mark, I do a search, and the system right now will try to look for all of the records you have in the system that contains the word Mark on it. So as you can see, it actually gives me a set of, results here down at the bottom. It's showing 1 out of 10, of 20, for example. Depending on how many pages it's showing up, you could go from one page to another. Now, obviously, if you wanted to, I guess, do a specific search, you could put in both records, like first name, last name, or you could use the last name to search for that person. So, Guide right now, I search for it, and it pulls up only one. That means that I'm the only person in your database using that last name, of course. So, it gives me basic information on it. Phone number, email address, as you can see. You've got some working icons here. You could edit the person. You could edit, go into the contact record, update, make some changes on it if you want to. You could email the person from here, text them if it's enabled, register them, and then you could add notes to it. And then at the same time, if who you're looking for is not in the database, let's say, for example, this is not the person that you're looking for. Let's say I'm going to type the name Lloyd right now. I'm going to search for Lloyd Yabut, and right now they're not in the database. You do have the option to add a new contact, which means that, you could add a brand new record right now, a brand new individual inside a ProClass database. Now, there is also an add new student and an add new instructor here. Now, I'm going to explain to you the difference in a few minutes later on. But every time you add a brand new record, you always need to click on add new contact. Okay? So right now, let's say, for example, we're going to try to add Lloyd. So I'm just going to click on add new contact, for example, here. That would bring me to the add contact page. It's going to ask me for some account information. So Lloyd is an individual. So again, every drop-down field that you see here corporate, family, individual, those are already pre-configured all under administration on the top, right? So that is not something that you could modify. If you wanted to maybe suggest an option here that would actually go out on the drop-down field, you could talk with Amjet or Newell regarding that. So every type field that you would encounter throughout the system are all pre-configured under administration. And only your main administrators have control on that. Okay? So right now, I'm just going to set, I'm going to select an individual. And then you have the account name. It's going to ask you for the account name. So if it's an individual account, basically you could put in first name, last name. There's no, what do we call this, fixed format on how you could actually type in the account name. If you're going to ask me what would be the suggestion for the account name, we always, suggest to put in last name, comma, space, first name for the format on the account name. So I'm going to put in Lloyd's last name here, comma, space, and then the first name, Lloyd, and then the account contact type. This would be the relationship of that individual to the account. So since we're just simply talking about an individual record, I'm just going to select individual also on the account contact type. And then, of course, fill in the first name. You fill in whatever required fields it's going to be. So date of birth, for example, I'm going to just put in a dummy information here. Okay. Something like that. And then it's going to be a male, of course. National ID, something like that. Whatever number you have, license number, phone number, something like that. So you'll start with those required items, okay? The rest of the information you could add or you could modify that one at a later time. It would be advisable to start and fill in those required items first. And then afterwards, you click on save on the top to make sure the record is updated or saved in your database. So there's two save buttons here, by the way. You have the save button, and then you have the save and return. The save and return would save your record and bring you back to the previous page. So kind of like a shortcut there. But of course, we want to stay on the same page, so I'm just going to click on the save button there on the top, which is the first one. Okay? So from the add account page, I've got my edit contact page right now. So if I want to, I could add additional information like the national ID, the driver's license if I want to, comments, email address, all of that stuff can be added here. Okay. I also have my categories section, student level right now, which account I belong to. So you can see I belong to my own account, which is Lloyd Yabut. System information, who created it, it's Lloyd an adult, so I put a check mark on it just to make sure. And then whatever changes, make sure you click on save so that it would be updated. So if you look at the contact page right now, all of the information shown here are personal information, right? So everything's personal inside the contact page. Now, if you go to the account page right now, of course, there's a link here that you could go to. So I'm going to go to Lloyd's account page. It's going to show me it's an individual account. I have the account name here in the top. Now, on the account page, this is where you can see financial transactions and registrations. Okay? So you have the current balance on the account. You have any discount, payment terms, referral type, for example, who belongs to your account. Okay, so obviously it's an individual account. All of the registrations would be shown on the account level, any open charges, open credits, invoices, payment transactions, refunds as well. All of that information are found inside the edit account page. And then again, the contact page would show you personal information. Questions so far?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Hello. I have two questions. The first one is what if we have duplicate accounts? Can you give us a way how we can delete it? As you know that some of the new employees who joined the Middle East, they do not know the basics of ProClass, so they start to create the names, and this will cause a duplicate account. How we can delete them? This is my first question. Hello?
Yep, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
Now, that's a, yeah, sorry.
And my second question on the add note sign, can we add the placement test result so we can use it later on for registration instead of going to other systems to see the mark of the student?
Okay. So the question is, can you delete a duplicate contact record, right? That's the first question.
Yes,
The
that's
second
right.
one has something to do with notes, right?
Yes.
Got it. Got it. Now, ideally, when it comes to deletion of records inside ProClass, we would not suggest that one all the time. Okay. Now, technically, you could delete a record that does not have any other connections with the rest of the record that you have inside the system. What I mean is that when you add a contact, just like what I'm doing here right now, I've just added it today, so I haven't registered Droid to any programs. I haven't added any financial transactions, as you can see. I haven't added any payments. I've just added the record today. So obviously, this one has no connection whatsoever to any other records you have inside the ProClass system, right? So there's a
Yeah.
possibility that we could delete this record totally system. But then again, that is something that we would not suggest. Personally, I would not suggest also that doing that, because you could imagine if the person has a permission to be able to delete a record, and you don't have kind of like a fail safe for that on the standards of the system. It would actually result possibly for a data loss inside your database. So the best way to handle duplicate records would simply update your name on the account as well as the contact record, and then at the same time you inactivate that contact record. What I mean is that if there are two Lloyd Yabots inside a ProClass system, I simply uncheck this box here, and then I'm going to add the word duplicate on the name, and then save it, of course.
Yeah.
So that would tell me later on if I'm going to look for if I'm going to run a search, and let's say, for example, you've got three Lloyd Yabot records, or two of them, for example, inside the database, at least you would be able to easily tell that this one is a duplicate record compared to the other one. That would be the best way to handle it. Because, again, you could, there's a possibility that you could delete the record. You could click on that red X sign there on the top that says delete. But sometimes, because I can't explain that one on a technical term, I'm not a technical person, forgive me guys, but the way the records are set up inside the system, you're not going to be able to easily delete them because of what we call as child contacts. It means that it is connected to something else inside the ProClass system. So it might be possible it's connected to reports, other transactions, other records that you have that that we're not aware of, especially if you're using different custom fields and forms, things like that. So that's the reason why we don't suggest deleting of records, but instead we just need to update them.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And then regarding, I need to double check on the notes because if I'm not mistaken,
لا يعني
You
إيش
are not using.
يقول
Yeah, sorry.
إيه ما حدا
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Yes, was there a follow-up question? Sorry.
I can't hear you clearly, Mark, for the add notes comment.
عن جد؟
Okay. Regarding the ad notes, I'm gonna verify it. Forgive me, because if I'm not mistaken, you're using a different system to track those. You're talking about exam results, right?
Yeah,
Test
that's
results?
right. Yes.
They-
Placement
Yeah.
test results, yeah.
If I recall correctly, you are using a different software for that or a system.
Yes,
So I
that's
don't
totally
think
right.
you're going to be using the notes feature inside ProClass. Let me double check.
Yeah, yeah. If we can
Okay.
enter it manually, can we do it?
It is possible. You know, anything can be possible. There's a lot of features that you could use in the feature. I mean, in the database for sure. The what do we call this? It just was not used before, obviously. For there is a certain reason behind that, and I can't recall exactly what's the reason behind why we're not, why we were not using the notes feature for us to track those, those test results. So I'm going to double check maybe later on with Amjad or Nuha regarding
will
that,
ma-
and I'll get back to you on that. Okay?
Yeah, I think we should use it because this will make our life easier.
Yep, it is possible, but then again, I can't tell the exact reason behind it
Yeah.
because it might have something to do with other, feature that is,
Yeah.
I'm not sure about it. Yep.
Yeah, great. Because my point of view in this point that if we have a student and he did the placement test, let's say 4 or 5 months ago, and he came after that and he wants to register in the course, so we just ask him, what's your level? What's your level at the placement test? So once he don't know what's his level, so and he can't remember when he did the exam, so we will be in situation is a good situation at this time or this period. What do you think?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll go to that part later on. Don't worry, because
Okay.
the notes feature, so that you would know, okay, the notes feature is not directly connected
Yeah.
to programs and registrations, unfortunately. So, which means that it's not going to be tied up to a specific program, to a specific registration, for example. It is basically totally separate from a registration or from a program's point of view. That's probably the reason why you were not using that feature. But then again, like I told you, I'm going to get back to you on that just to be sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Now, okay, so if you don't have any questions, guys, right now we're looking at the account page, as you can see, right? So, edit account page you have here. Of course, you can see the notes here. I mean, the contacts down below. Now, if I go back to the home page, okay, so from the home page, if I'm going to look for Lloyd under the quick search contacts, it gives me the results right here, right? So I have Lloyd right now inside the database. I could see the phone number. I could, if he has an email address, I could see his email address from here. So whatever basic information about that contact record, I could easily see that one from the widget right away. Now, if I go to my accounts and billing, which is a different dashboard page, of course, it gives me another widget here allowing me to search for accounts. And if I'm going to search for Lloyd again from here, then I could see the Lloyd Yabut individual account from here as well. So again, if we're talking about accounts, then that's where you can see how many number of contacts are there, balances, for example, and then you can, you have the option to go in, add a payment, add another individual if you want to, and you also that says add new account. Now, what's the difference between adding an account from here and adding a contact record from the contacts, dashboard page and widget. Okay. Now, there's a bit of a difference there between the two. Of course, you could still add a new record by going on your quick search accounts here and clicking on the add new account instead of going through the contacts if you want to. Now, the main difference between the two is that when you add a new account, let's say I'm going to add a new account, it brings us directly to the add account page, but it doesn't allow you to add a contact record right away, which means that you're going to add an account. Let's say I'm going to add another individual, for example, right now. Okay, put in the first name, last name, comma, space, first name, and then those are just the two required items. It's not asking me to fill in the contact first and last name, as you can see. So when I click on save on the top, that's the time that I could add the new individual contact here down below. So the difference right now when you add a contact and when you add an account is that when you add a contact record, it allows you to add it automatically at the same time. When you go through the add account page instead, it lets you add the account record first and then save it, and then that's the time that you can add a new contact after. So basically, if you're going to go through the add account process, it's going to take you probably 2 or 3 more steps longer compared to the add contact process. It's still the same. You're still adding a record, of course, inside a ProClass system. The add account process is just longer compared to the add contact process, okay? That's the only difference there between the two. All right? So I think that's very much clear. Right now, I'm just going to save right now, for example. Are you sure you want to delete? Just to show you if you try to attempt to save it. Save it, and yep, the system allows you to save it. If it's not allowing you to save it, it's going to give you an error message right away. Okay? Yeah, questions? All right, no questions. So, going back here to the quick search contacts right now, what's the difference between adding a new contact, adding a new student, and adding a new instructor here inside a system? Now, inside the contact record, if I go in again to the Lloyd Yabut contact record here, there's what we call as a category, okay? And most of the field office for Amadis is not using this one, categories, but this is something that you could activate or classify a particular individual contact inside your ProClass database. If I go to manage contact categories right now, that's where I could assign somebody as my board member, donor, or instructor, for example, student, something like that. So you assign them whatever categories you want. If you want to add multiple categories from here, you could do that again under administration through Nuha Amanjad. But again, most of the field office are not using that category feature. So, it's just a difference. Going back to the home page right now, what's the difference between contact, student, and instructor? When you add a new student or when you add a new instructor right now, you're still adding a contact record inside a database, but that contact record automatically tags that person as a student under categories. And then if you're going to go through the instructor, then it's automatically going to tag that contact as an instructor under the categories. That's the only difference there. There's still contact record by default. Does that make sense?
A question here, Mark.
Okay.
Category is
Yep.
just a label that is assigned to the contact, or is there any functionality behind that?
It's just a label. An
Just
internal label, category, classification, grouping, for example, whatever you may call it internally, that you could set to a contact record. So
Okay.
the main purpose of that is for you to easily, I guess, search for them in the database. Let's say you have like a big organization, Amadis, from UAE, different field office, obviously, right? So you could use those different field office as your categories. And if you're one of the administrator, for example, for let's say UAE or Jordan, for example, I could assign you that category into your record. And then here, if I want to run a report or if I'm going to look for those individuals that are, from Jordan compared to from, UAE, for example, I could use that category for that search. But like I told you, most of your field office are not using the category feature inside a system. So let's just leave that one as it is, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Now, guys, of course, individual records, we're also talking about corporate accounts, right? There's a possibility that you're also handling corporate accounts inside a database. Maybe 10 or 20% of your records are going to be corporate accounts instead of individual. So again, of course, the corporate accounts are on the account name, right? So if I want to search for an account right now, I'm going to, let's say, for example, Bank of UAE, right? I'm going to search for that corporate account. They're not in a database. I'm just going to type in UAE, for example, here. Let's say if it's going to corporate accounts. So I've got Zadco, mostly other individuals. So let's say, for example, I'm going to add a Bank of UAE corporate account, right? So I have the option to add a new account from here, or I could also do it from the contact page again. Either way, I could also do it under the create menu if I want to. Let's say I'm going to go to the create menu right now, and I'm going to add a new account, right? So create a new contact for an account. So I'm just going to click on the new account there. So this would be the Bank of UAE. Okay, this one is a corporate account. And then this one is my, let's say, primary contact or, the manager, for example. Now, sometimes you may know the primary contact, the manager of that corporate account. But again, most of the time, you don't know who the primary contact is, the primary individual for the Bank of UAE. They may have different staff that you're working with. So obviously you can't add individually all of them inside the database. So instead of naming a specific person here as the primary contact right now, you could assign a generic record to represent a person from the Bank of UAE. So this would be, for example, obviously it's not a real person. It's kind of like an imaginary primary contact record that would be assigned to the Bank of UAE, right? So let's say this would be my, what do we call this? Primary contact. Something like that. And then I'm just going to put in some dummy information on the, date of birth. I'm going to put in gender. Of course, those are required fields. So you can't data unless you're going to put in something there on those fields. So just going to put in save. Click on save right now. And then here, as you can see, I've got my primary contact on the Bank of UAE. If I go to the the account page, it's going to look something like this. So I've got my corporate account. Under contacts, it's showing my primary contact here as an individual. Obviously, this is not the real person. The reason why we need to assign somebody as primary billing and emergency, because whoever is the primary billing and emergency on the account, that would be the name showing up on your invoices and your reports. So that's the main reason why we need to assign somebody as a primary billing and emergency on a contact record or an account rather,
Okay,
a corporate.
I have a question. Can I ask something?
Sure. Yep.
My question is, why would we create an account when we simply can create a contact and that contact goes automatically into an account? I mean, what's the use of creating an account? Why would we do that?
I'm talking about like when you're dealing with corporate accounts. Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes the
but
problem
still
with, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but still, if we have a corporate account, we can't have all, let's say we're giving a business for English class for a group of people from a certain bank. We can't have all the individuals listed into that corporate account, can we?
Yes. Yep. Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you understand my question?
Yes, and let me explain it to you again. Okay, let me look for an example here. I could actually, show you what I mean. Now, the main difference why you can't just tag anybody as your primary contact in emergency is, let's say, for example, I'm going to look for, I can't recall a corporate account that I have here as an example. Let me just look for it real quick. One moment. Okay, here we go. So we've got Bank of Palestine, right?
Okay.
We've got 7 individuals here.
Mm-hmm.
So if we open it up, okay, if we open up the Bank of Palestine, it's a sponsor account, it's a corporate account, it's, it doesn't matter whatever account type you've actually selected, but that's obviously the Bank of Palestine account. And then here, I've got different individuals, right? Now, what's the reason why we need somebody billing an emergency? Again, this would be the one showing up on your invoices and on your reports. We don't want Ben here or Keith to show up on your, invoices, obviously, for all of the registrations for Becky, for Brenda. So that's the main reason why we need to create somebody, unless you know the manager maybe of Bank of Palestine, then you could actually add him there. But if you don't know them,
I understand
then
now.
just write a, yep, that's the reason why we need to set up kind of like an imaginary contact, which would be kind of like, exactly just like this one, an accounts receivable.
Yeah, I can understand that. And how do we then add all the individuals under that, under Bank of Palestine? Yeah.
On the account, yep. Again, there's multiple options to do that. Let's say, for example, let's go back to my Bank of UAE, okay? So that would be a good example. So if I search for an account here, I'm going to look for that Bank of UAE, right? So UAE, for example, let's see here. Okay. So it's giving me a lot of data. So I'm just going to put in Bank of UAE. Maybe that would help. All right, here we go. So I've got one of them. Now, there's multiple options. If you look at an account, if you want to add another brand new individual from, into this particular corporate account, you could do it from here. So there's an add contact option there. Now, again, take note, okay? This is important, guys. I know it's a lot of work from your end, but this is, this would be the safest way to prevent duplicate records. Before you add them inside a system, like I told you before, it is important to search for them first in the database, just to prevent duplicate records from being entered twice. Let's say we're trying to add Anthony Mason right now. So I'm just going to search for Anthony in your database. I want to make sure that they're not in the database yet. So I've got 2 Anthonys. Anthony Mason is not one of them. And then I'm going to try to look for Mason, for example, here. And then I have Hordy here. So that tells me Anthony Mason is not yet in the database. Then now is the good time to go back to the Bank of UAE and probably add Anthony Mason on the account, because I'm sure Anthony Mason is not yet in the database. So I'm going to put in first name, last name. You could put in the date of birth again. I'm running out of dates here. So male, and then I'm just going to add another phone number, save it, and then of course the system would ask you what that person is to the Bank of UAE, whether an employee, the relationship, an individual maybe. So I'm just going to put in, let's say, employee, for example, or individual, right? So save it. And then right now, if you go back to the Bank of UAE, there's two, contacts right now that belongs to the account. And if you go in, try to look for it, so it's going to show something like this. So we have the primary contact, the accounts receivable, and then you have another individual, or the employee, for example, whatever you may call it, Anthony Mason, on the account. Okay? Now, aside from the home page, of course, you could do it under the Create menu. If you go to the Create menu and you have here, add an individual contact to an existing account, you could do it from here, right? So if I click on, it's going to ask you select account. I'm going to put in Bank of UAE. Okay, I've got the account here. I select that one, click and continue, and that would bring me to the exact page earlier, add contact page. So multiple ways for you to add an individual record to a corporate account if needed. Other question, guys?
Yes, I have one, please.
Yep.
This is Nesma from Middle East, Egypt. Actually, I had a certain question from one of the CS team here, that whenever they want to register a customer in the same program they used before, it does not allow them to do so. They have to go through a different way and a hard way to register the customer within the same program. Let's say under additional services, when additional services, it got more than one service that they can do. So if they registered a customer under additional service for a certain service, then they want another service under the same category. They had to go through another way to register the customer, not from the homepage or not from the contact, from the homepage of the contact, I mean. Did you get my question?
I see. A little bit, but I have to, forgive me, guys. If it's okay with you, try to save that question first, and then remind me on that when we talk more about registrations later on.
Sure, I thought it's maybe linked to what we're talking about, creating a contact and creating an account. Maybe that's why it's not giving an easy way to register the customer within the same program that we used before.
Yep. I don't think it has something to do with the account and contact ratios, but don't worry, we'll go back to that question for sure.
Okay, sure.
When we talk about more about registration, because today I want to focus on adding accounts and contacts for both individuals and corporate accounts. Does all of you have access already into ProClass, by the way? If I may ask.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
you all have
I have
access already to the database?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So even on the test unit, because what I want you to do, guys, on your free time, of course, and that's the reason why I've actually scheduled the training session one day apart. It actually gives you time. I know you guys are busy, but I know we have this session recorded. But if you do have time, maybe 30 minutes of your time, 20, 30 minutes of your time, try to find time to go into the system and maybe add a contact record, add an individual, a corporate account, or maybe a family account if you want to, just to, at least get yourself familiar with the process there and to understand clearly how you can add a record in the database. Because, of course, after this, on our next meeting on Thursday, hopefully if you don't have any more questions about accounts and contacts, we're going to go directly to adding sessions and programs inside ProClass. And then afterwards, after that process, we're going to talk more about the registration process as well. Okay? So, any other questions regarding, on the adding of accounts and contacts so far? Oh, by the way, one important thing, guys, okay? For different field office, obviously your contact page, your account page might be a little different compared to what you're seeing here on the test unit. All of the different fields here and forms that you see in the back end are all customizable by you. So I can't recall if you have the same required fields, but obviously we could make all of these fields required. We could make, we could remove the required field. We could remove, if you're not using national ID, if you're not using driver's license, for example, we could remove those fields for you to make your contact page simple to look at in the back end. So all of these fields, the section, the different tabs that you see down below, everything is customizable here on both account and contact pages in the back end. Any questions, guys? So since we still have time, a few minutes of your time, if it's okay with you, we've got another widget here, recent activity accounts, recent activity payments, for example. Now, recent activity widget would actually tell you those accounts or records created or modified within that period of time. So right now, for example, if I'm going to click on the number of days to show those activities or accounts that were created or modified, then it would show me all of those accounts that we've actually created today, as you can see, or created or modified rather. So you have Lloyd Yabat, Bank of UAE. We haven't created Bank of Palestine, but we have modified it, of course. So as you can see, the last activity is based on today's date. So the recent activity widget here might be useful for you in finding out which record were modified, created for a number of days, or, if you want to see all of the registrations created for today, something like that, you could also use recent activity registrations for that. So if you go to your contacts dashboard page and you scroll down a bit below, you can see here in the last 7 days, there were 2 registrations created or modified within that period of time. Any question, guys? So what I'm going to do, of course, we have the meeting recorded, like I mentioned. I'm going to forward it to our support team after the call so that they could actually upload this one and, provide you the link with the recording. I'm going to send it to Amjad later on, and then I think he will be the one to, forward it to you guys, the rest of your team, so that you could actually, review it anytime you want.
Yes.
Now,
And if anybody
every
have any
time you're
questions, just send it
actually-
my way. Sorry, Mark. Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. So yeah, if you do have some, if you're playing with the ProClass system, for example, you're testing it out, you can always contact support here on top as well. So if you go on our support menu, we have our email support available here. We have our online chat, documentation, for example, toll-free number in case you need help. But you can also email me directly, as well as Lloyd, for example, for any of those, specific questions that you have. All right.
Okay, from my side.
All right. Well, guys, I really appreciate your time for today. I know you know, again, you have been busy with your work. And let me just pull it up. Okay. So, yeah, talk to you on Thursday, same time, of course. And, yeah, hopefully we could actually cover semesters or sessions and programs by that time.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Thank you all.
Thank
Hopefully.
you.
All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mark,
Thank
for your
Guys, you
time.
guys take care, okay?
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.